All right. So, what is your position in the film industry,
I'm a key grip.
and what does that normally entail?
Entails a lot of rigging of cameras, entails running a crew of up to 12 people, sometimes 18, and we rig the cameras, and once those are rigged, we start with the lighting, help out with the electricians and the lighting. We diffuse and bounce light, and we usually work with natural light, where the electricians will use artificial light.
And did you always want to become a key grip when you were starting out, or?
Oh no, I started in theater as a prop and maker and a set builder, and it was the natural. I got interested in lighting, working with the on-set guys, the on-stage guys, and then I just moved to Vancouver and started theater there. And then I met a guy that was working in film, and he introduced me to it and took it from there.
And did you go to school at all for any
Theater school.
for theater?
Yeah.
For,
Most of the education in film was done working on a set. That's how we learned, and there was no film schools back then that I knew of. Living in Vancouver, and there is one now, but it's quite prestigious. But no, we learned everything on set.
Nice. And so, how did you get into the industry first? Was it because of the person you met in Vancouver, or how did you kind of get in there?
Well, I always wanted to work in the entertainment industry, in film eventually, because I remember watching this television show called Visitors, and it was about lizard people, and that's I want to work in a medium like that. So that was eventual. Yeah, just it evolved, but yeah.
And when did you first find success per se in the industry? When you finally got to work with like much bigger productions, or you started meeting more people that you kind of knew?
Yeah. Well, just starting out as a grip, we were working on, with really good director photographers and really good directors. And as I got older and became more as a head of the department, I had to start at the bottom. So that was on shows like MacGyver and Millennium, and Millennium was a takeoff of what's that show called? Sorry, you'll have to edit this part out.
Yeah, no worries. So we can just go on to what was probably the biggest challenge at the start, getting into the industry.
The hours.
The hours?
Yeah, there was, you'd shoot it. Sometimes you'd be there on set for like 17, 18 hours. But, being young was easier to handle than it is now.
Yeah. And what would you say is like one of your better, like first major accomplishments that you were really proud of when you started?
When I started, an accomplishment in that industry when you're young is people hiring you all the time. You just go from one job to another because if they like your work ethic, they'll hire you to come and join them. I guess that would be an accomplishment. Being asked to work for people is an accomplishment. When I started being a key grip, I think that putting cameras on in dangerous positions was a accomplishment because that upped everything. That upped my game, where I could put cameras wherever they asked for it, and you eventually learn how to. It's a really good term. You learn how not to say no to people.
Oh, that's good. And so, what school was like the one you went to for theater? Like, what's your
at Niagara College in Welland. That's where I met my wife, and it was it was a good school. It was a technical school, so it was all. And to get hired in theater in Canada, most of the people in the hiring position in technical school came from that school. So you would get a job through them.
So you would say that did really help, like, kickstart the career there?
Absolutely.
Did you have any connections that you still talk to this day over at the college?
Well, I know, just through, Facebook, people still there.
Yeah.
There's a Facebook group and we all chat. But in this area, I don't know many people from that school. There's a lot in Toronto I still know and keep in contact with, but other than that,
So you still keep connection with
Oh, yeah.
some of the guys you met there. That's good. So I'll be talking about more like the industry stuff. And did you do any sort of internships? Was that a thing before, or like co-op programs, or did
No.
you just have to work?
just started working and learned from there. You know, because a lot of it is work attitude. If you show up with a good working attitude, you'll learn easier because you want to learn, and you'll just continue asking questions. When people stop asking questions, they maybe stop learning. I don't know, but it worked for me.
And did you think there was anything like maybe not directly school related or work related that kind of helped you learn more?
Oh yeah. The outside world is full of interesting courses. You know, for me, from my perspective, a rigging course. You know, learn how to deal with all like a condor or a skyjacker lift. You know, even sailing helps with the film industry. If you learn to sail, you learn rigging, you learn the ropes and pulleys and how things move. And if I was to do it again, I would go more into the engineering end of it. It would also help.
And were those courses like provided by the school at all, or did you kind of go out of your own way and find those?
Most of them you learned through the union would have a side course that you'd go and learn all that stuff.
Right.
But normally, if you're not in a union situation, you'd have to learn that on your own. It's not that difficult once you pick it up.
Okay. And as myself, as someone who needs an internship and a co-op to get into school, or maybe even if I join a union and I would have to do like those courses, what should I expect? Like I guess hours wise, or what kind of people would I be talking to? Like instructors, or are they like practicing? Like are they just like employees who practice and then they also like teach on the side kind of thing? Or
Yeah, well, if you're going to join a union, you would start as you would apply for a permit status, and that permit status would allow you to take those courses, and they would probably charge you, a union member within those courses pays like $40, and sometimes it's free. But as a permitted applicant, you'd probably pay like $60-70 to learn those courses, to learn your safety awareness course, your WHMIS course, and all the other courses for driving a condor or a forklift. But they offer those courses throughout the year at different times of the year. So yeah.
Are the courses like are they something necessary to keep going, or is that kind of like an additive thing so we can start doing different stuff?
Well, now you need to have them in order to go onto a set, because it's a part of the safety protocols that the Ontario government has put in.
I see. Okay. And what kind of advice can you give for finding these connections? Talking to somebody who can, because I don't know too much about the union, and if I was somebody who didn't have any connections to the film industry, who could I talk to about that? Or
Well, a lot of the people that do non-union stuff, like commercials and small projects, know people. You could start working there, and the more people you know, the more it's easier for you to take advantage of those things. And or you just look up the International Alliance of Theatrical Technicians, IATSE. Punch in a number, 873 would be the one in Toronto, 891 would be the one in BC, and you can follow their online stuff, and you can start there. But it's best to know somebody, of course.
yeah.
Help you out.
And so there's an important question here: is joining a union necessary to kind of like break into the industry? Would you say?
No, I don't think so. It helps, but well, if I had any advice for anybody that wanted to start filming, I would say buy yourself a camera. Go out and just start taking pictures and filming different times of light. It depends on what you want to do. Do you want to be a director of photographer? You want to be a director? I would start that way because you have more freedom. You have more artistic freedom than, say, if you went to a school and some company picked you up, you would be, directed the way they want you to go, as opposed to you having the freedom to do whatever you wanted to do. Because in the end, you want them to come to you. You don't want to go to them, because once they come to you, then it's easier for you to keep up your artistic expression than it is being guided by their ideas.
And would you say that a union would be good for, if you were to tailor it to what I'm looking in, which is camera and like grip and gaffing? Would you say the union would be like?
Oh, it's yeah. No, that's a good place to learn. Like on-set learning, the 667, IATSE 667 in Toronto they all have courses, and you end up being an apprentice on different. It's like 6 weeks, I think, 6 or 8 weeks per show, and you have to do so many shows before you can move up to something else. And once they get that on your belt, they do a report card on your work and work ethic and how quick you're learning and how easy you get along with people and how you blend into each team. And then they tell people and they give you a good mark and you get another show and you go and do that, and that repeats itself.
And do you think somebody who were to follow that path, do you think they could make it as far if they were to do like independent stuff, like you said, commercials and just like smaller projects?
Oh yeah, as long as you don't get caught in that flow of, it can be a good time. And don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun. And when you're working on set, it's still hard work. You still do your job, especially in the camera department. It's stricter and it's in our area. You go far if you got a good work attitude and you learn. Yeah, of course you can make a really good living out of it, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, and where would you say is the best place to look for work in the industry for camera and grip? Let's say
Toronto
for sure.
For Ontario, yeah. But if you're young, go to BC. It's fun.
And is it because of just the environment there? There's more shows that.
There's more shows that are happening there. I don't know if the competitions differ. The more shows that are there, I think. Yeah, you'd get more work. I think there, because of the time zone with California. It's the same time zone. You can go from downtown Vancouver to the mountains within half hour. They got great stages out there. They got a really good support. Vancouver's got really good support. The government has good tax incentives.
And would you say that Toronto is pretty competitive with the way Vancouver is working out right now?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I'm not. It's more of a, if you're young, go west, young man. That kind of thing, and and have fun. I don't know.
And what would you say are some pretty good tools of the trade that you should have going to the industry? For example, it says here that maybe owning your own camera equipment might help, or what kind of things should you have on you that can help kind of get you in or help get you started?
In the camera department, because technology changes so quick, you have to be updated with that. You have to be aware of all, there's certain cameras. There's only like 4 or 5 cameras they use, right? That you'd want to learn about before you got there. Other than that, there's a lot of good camera assistants that have nice cameras that go around. They take still pictures all the time, so they do that because they love it. But I think keeping ahead of the technology is a really good asset to have.
Would you say it's necessary at all to kind of get ahead?
Oh yeah, because it changes all the time.
And for the gripping and gaff, is there anything that you should have or have knowledge of?
Lighting from it's good to have a sense of light direction, if you want to call it that, a sense of what lighting does to an object. But it's also good to know the technology of those lights that are out now. See, grip technology hasn't changed that much. It's just all different rigs that it's basically from the ground up. Like you'll look at a situation and make something for that situation, and then you go, oh, well, I'm going to make it out of aluminum so it's stronger. So you would make various clamps and rigs to handle that camera. But the electrical end of it, it's good to know electricity. It's good to know what electricity does. And there's a grip lighting book you can buy at some art stores, bookstores. There's a bunch of stuff you can. But yeah, just to keep up with the technology and to understand what electricity does.
Would you say that learning how to light is something that you can like learn from an instructor, or is it something you can also like experiment on your own?
Well, you can learn it from an instructor and learn it on your own. You know, some people have sat in one spot all day in one place out in your backyard and just take pictures of yourself every 10 minutes and see what the lighting's doing to your face, or, you know, and then eventually add things in there like a bounce or, or a colored filter or, anything. But now with technology, you can do a lot of that in the camera, but the light outside is always in one spot. It's in the sky, and that's yeah, you can teach yourself, but I think it's best to have a little bit of education on it. It helps.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go into the segment where I ask you a bit of some advice for the starters here. This one's a bit more of an open-ended question, but what advice can you offer and to just kind of starting to build connections from maybe one person, or you don't know anybody, or maybe you know a bunch of people and you just want to like kind of get to know more people so you can start working on maybe different shows, or like how does that kind of work? And
yeah, well, a friend of mine who was introduced himself. He was forward. He would stand by and watch filming all day, and eventually you notice this guy. Hey, he's sitting there all day watching this guy's film, and eventually people start talking to him, and he starts talking to them, and they just chit and chat and start from the ground up there. And sometimes let's go for it. You come around again. Just watch. As long as you're not in the way, people are more acceptable, I think. There's that, or there's the school. You can go through school and start there, and the teachers. One of your teachers is, I know him. I worked with him last year, and that's a good way of doing it. But school's a good way, and just knowing people that are in the film industry, just ask them questions, and they'll say, "Hey, this guy's really interested. I know a person that's in." It's a lot of who you know, kind of business. So, is
there a point in the industry where you kind of feel like you've kind of like made it, like now you're kind of like settled and you know your people and stuff? Would you say that there's a point where you start to know like you're starting to work for this team and you're kind of stable and you're not kind of just like jumping from like team to team or like contract to contract? You kind of have like a stable foundation for working?
Well, there's always you're only as good as the people you hire, and as good as the people that work for you or work with you. If one individual wants to move up, that's great. Right on, go for it. But we're only as strong as our team, and moving up is great. Being with each other is always good too, because you go as a unit, and complacency will kill any crew. But you try to pick the best people you can that have good work attitudes and won't leave.
Okay. This one's a bit more of a personal reflection kind of question. Is there anything that throughout this kind of like career path that you would have done any differently?
Yes. Yeah. If it comes down to that team thing. If you stay with one director or photographer, you don't get to broaden your skills that way. I hung out with one for a while, and always made my time available when that person was working. I should have gone and done other stuff too, but if you're doing a lot of hours, like you want time off in between, and he had the perfect times off in between that kind of came up with my, my body schedule, but yeah, I would have during those times. I think I should have went out and worked with other people. It was a few years that I didn't do that, so. But now I'm doing it. I'm fine. I like it right now.
So was that earlier in your
Oh,
career
yeah.
when you wanted to start maybe meeting more DOPs or like
Yeah.
just working with other teams?
Yeah, that was very early.
And what did you think that you were gonna find, like, if you were to work with other teams, what kind of skills did you think you could have picked up? Like, what did you feel like when you started to broaden, like, your, who you work with? Was there anything that you felt like got added on that you kind of missed out?
No, I worked with this guy named R.K. Hill, and he always said that you want to find, you want to find a tall guy, you want to have a short guy, you want to have a carpenter, and you want to have a rigger, and you want to have a guy that likes light, but all of them have to like the industry that they're in, so to go forward. So you have all those skills you can pick from. So you take the best skills of the people you have, and they'll lead up certain jobs if you have to, disperse and break up a bit during the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would you say is the best way to just break into the industry? Just start kind of like, if you needed to start like maybe as soon as possible, you just want to start working on a set. What would you say could do that for you?
Well, find people that are in the film industry that know you, and they'll go, oh, I'll help you out. Why not? I could help you out if you say, hey, you want to do this? We can do it that way. That's the best way, I think. At least you have some, like a little guardian angel there to help you out, and and that person who has a good word, or he's well liked, is gonna, other people go, oh yeah, let's give him a shot, see what happens. And if you show up with a good work attitude, and keep your head down, and don't talk a lot, then.
So would you say like having a connection and then having a good work attitude and
Yeah.
working hard can get you pretty far and
Oh,
get
yeah.
you in there?
Yeah, because if you work hard, you're going to learn quicker, and if you pick up at stuff, you can always, there's 9 ways of skinning the cat. You could be the 10th way. So who knows? Yeah.
And just to wrap up, is there any other advice that you think young filmmakers like myself, or even people who just want to work on set, that should really know before getting in there and trying stuff out?
Well, I'd go online to the unions and pick out, look at things that need to happen, like what you need legally. You need your women's course, you need your health and safety, you need to have a good broad range. If you're going to go into the special effects department, you'd have to learn how to weld, you'd have to learn how to deal with chemicals, and how to make bombs, how to wire stuff. Or if you're going as an electrician, learn about electricity. It's always good to learn beforehand, but once you're in and you start showing people what you can do, you'll get hired.
All right.
I think did that answer it?
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. I can gather something from that, and like, it's good to know like the legal, I guess, paperwork that you need to know to kind of get started with like the safety stuff and the women's stuff, and then also like things that like you said, there's different needs for stuff, and you want to see what's going on, and then maybe you can fit that and then start working and stuff like that.
Mm.
There's not too many questions I have left for you, so I think we can wrap up here.